descendants of Keturah. Did we read those yet? Okay, yeah, that was in the beginning. I forgot that. Okay, so going back to the beginning of this chapter, where we read names like Midian, Sheba, Shua, Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim. These are going to be interesting in the fact that Ashurim, Letushim, and Leumim are three of the Arabic tribes that went extinct. There's no, to our knowledge, survivors as a distinct tribe. They might have been absorbed by other tribes or whatever. We don't know. But Ashurim, by the way, is an interesting one because it sounds like the Ashur in the Bible, in the rest of the Bible, which is where we get the name Assyria from.
Okay.
The kingdom of the empire, the Assyrian Empire. But Ashurim and the Ashurim are two different Ashurim. They're two different groups. The Assyrians, which are now mostly known as the Syriac Christians, are a different people group. Have nothing to do with this Ashurim. Sheba is Yemen. Shua is the Shuahites from Job 2, verse 11. Again, giving us a nice little location to kind of like, it gives us a range from Haran to southern Syria, maybe southern Jordan, of where Job kind of lived. He might have been traveling back and forth in that range, but that's where those are the places where his friends came from. And then we have Midian, which becomes the ancestor of the Midianites, which become a problem for Israel later on. But
Yeah, we had talked earlier about that's where Moses runs away to.
Yeah.
And meets up with the Midianites. And he was there 40 years.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to get ahead of us, but he still keeps his faith in his God. Let me back up here.
All right, this is going to be interesting.
Yes. He runs away from Egypt because he's being hunted down, sent off. You want to believe the Ten Commandments movie? The Pharaoh sent him away, but I believe he ran away.
Yeah.
And he gets the Midianite and he dwells with them for 40 years. And as far as we know, he has nothing to do with God because it doesn't really say yes or no. He knows that he's a Hebrew, but he stays with his Midianites.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has this encounter with God on Mount Sinai.
Mm.
And then from that point, he leaves there and goes back to Egypt.
Yeah.
At the age of 80.
Yeah.
He got counseled by his father-in-law to stop being the judge over every little thing going on.
Yeah.
So his father-in-law helps him in that.
Yeah.
And then, and later on we find the Midianites are a very big problem, which which I don't understand. If his father-in-law knew what was going on with Moses, you would think that he would follow him. Now maybe he did. And it's just the ancestors after that decide that they didn't like.
Well, yeah, it's even more interesting than that because, you say he doesn't, as far as we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have anything to do with God, but it's interesting who he decides to throw his lot in with in Midian. Because his father-in-law, Jethro, Yitro, is known as and described in the Bible as a priest of the Most High, just like Melchizedek was.
Mm-hmm.
So, up until at least Jethro's time, at least some of the Midianites
Mm-hmm.
worshipped God Almighty. They didn't worship um, the pagan idols, pagan gods of their neighboring peoples.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that Jethro or Moses was probably still um, loyal to God. That he never became disloyal
Mm-hmm.
or worshipped
So he
anybody else.
probably learned more from Jethro than what's being led on,
I, I, w-
possibly.
I would assume that, maybe, yeah, because this was before he was called
Mm-hmm.
by God. So what he would have known would be what he would have known. If I could just talk,
Say
what
that again.
he would have learned is just what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob passed on, right? Which is going to be interesting because in a little bit we're going to talk about Isaac or Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be an interesting little tidbit there because he might have had two other teachers other than his father and grandfather. Um, some heavy hitters, some OGs, and it's conceivable that um, the Midianites, at least some of them, to this point, had that knowledge also. So Moses would have gotten a double dose, like you said, learned more from Jethro, Yitro, um, and just stayed faithful um, in his silent years. Yeah.
Well, I guess being that Mount Sinai is where the Midianites were located in that general area. Uh, I keep on going back to the movie because I used to I used to love watching Ten Commandments because it was so what I thought well put together, and then I found out that it was so disorganized and did not bring out the whole truth about a lot of it.
Yeah.
Uh, where it talks about I think Joshua comes in on the scene, or no, uh, she's talking to Moses,
Who?
uh, his
His
wife,
wife?
uh, and he's asking about the mountain. Why is it rumbling and stuff? And she says that's God's high place, and that's where He dwells. Uh, so
Hmm.
I don't know how much of that is actual. We'll have to find out when we get further on.
Yeah.
But it's just the movie really messes up the story, the true story.
Yeah.
There's some truth in it, but there's a lot of Hollywood in it too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Thankfully,
but
most of the younger generations have no clue what we're talking about right
right.
now.
I would say go back and watch the movie, but read Exodus first
Yeah.
before you watch the movie.
Yeah.
So you know the truth first, and then watch Hollywood mess it up, and then you know Charlton Heston was great, all that stuff. But if God did dwell on Mount Sinai in that time period, or maybe He visited there, who knows what the whole deal. He was there. There's no doubt about that because Moses goes up there and sees and talks to God, talks to God the Father, because he does not see Him face to face.
Yeah.
Not at this point. He talks to Jesus face to face later, but at this point he is directly talking to God the Father, because if you read it, God said, "No man can see my face and live. It's impossible. No mortal man. Angels can see him because they're immortal, but as we are now, we can't see God's face to face in the sense of the Father himself."
Yeah.
And that's why he hides him in the cleft of the rock, and he passes by with his hand over him so that he doesn't see, and then he pulls it away and he can see the backside of God.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference, a big distinction between God the Father and Jesus. How people see him in the Old Testament when they get to talk to him face to face. They're not talking to God face to face because it's an impossibility, but they are talking to God the Son face to face. But anyway, so I went down that rabbit hole and climbed back out.
Chasing Midian, right? Like I said,
we may need to stop this episode here. we're pretty far into it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think we can wrap it up. Actually, there's not a whole lot more. I say that, but I have a whole nother page. But
I'll leave it up to you. You are the editor in chief of this. So.
Let's go through. Let's finish it, and then if you have time for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Let's finish it, and then if I have to cut it and make one an hour and 20 minutes, the other 30 minutes or 40 minutes, so be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to cover between 12 and 18?
No, just, bringing out the fact that all these people are related to one another till this day, and they're in a family squabble. One side's robbing rockets at the other. The other's, trying to defend itself and its very existence. And we have some people with brain rot asking them, "How dare you defend yourself?" And this is why we are set up as a corporation instead of a 501c3 organization, because, the IRS otherwise could have told us to keep quiet, and we're not going to have that. But yeah.
All right. We will carry on. Verse 19. This is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padam Aram, the sister of Laban in Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived, but the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, two people shall be separated from your body. One people shall be stronger than the other, and the other shall serve the younger." So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over, so they called his name Esau. Afterward his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So we know that if Islam wants to say that Rebekah was 3 years old when she was married to Isaac, well, now she's 23 years old having children.
Yeah. And, but it's saying she's 60 years old, so.
He's 60.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Isaac is 60. And we believe that she was close to 20 when they got married.
Yeah.
We'll just say between 15 and 20. So 20 years later, she has children. So she's 35, 40 years old.
Yep.
Okay. Which is, it's not too old to have children yet. But the fact that she is of age of having children, uh, and she gives birth to these two guys, uh, apparently fighting in her womb the whole time because she doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And she has Big Red first. uh, he is his skin or his hair. He was a very hairy child, according to what they're saying here. And his brother comes out after him, but he's holding on to his heel. Apparently, just I'm not saying Esau was abnormal. I'm just saying Jacob comes out normal, skin tone and all so far. As, from what it says here.
Yeah. It's interesting. Though her reaction makes me think that perhaps twins were not a thing in her family. She doesn't know how it feels. She doesn't have any, and she's far away from her family to even tell her about anything. So she has no guidance there. But it's interesting that she went to inquire of the Lord. Where did she go? Because she went. Where did she go? No clue. Nobody's commented on that.
Well, she could have went to the tent next door and prayed.
Why? Why not her own tent? That's the thing, right? I think I think maybe it's a spiritual thing, as in she went spiritually to inquire, and the word inquire actually. I'm trying to remember. There was something about it. It's escaping me, but it's like she prayed. Is the thing. The main point about this that's intriguing me is that God speaks to her, which means she's a prophetess, and she doesn't necessarily share it with Isaac. She doesn't tell him, because later on we're going to see that he's acting completely opposite to what God told her. So either she didn't tell him or he didn't take heed. But based on what we know about him, I don't see him not taking heed, not paying attention. So I think she just kept it to herself.
Well, wasn't it back in this time period when the wife was found to be pregnant? Was she not separated from her husband from that point?
I mean, well, okay, so at this time point, whether she was pregnant or not, women had their own tent.
Yes, they did.
So,
but I mean, after they became pregnant, they were separated, like you don't see your husband, he doesn't see you until after your children are born.
I haven't heard anything about that.
It seems like I read something about that. It may not be true. Don't take your word for word there.
It could be, maybe that's the tradition in another tribe or in another people group, and some commentator was just ascribing to that to Israel also, or proto-Israel, as we can call it. But as we saw before, commentators like to insert Hittite customs and courtesies in their commentary every now and then, but the Hittites weren't even a thing yet, so it doesn't even work. Since they do that, I think maybe that could be something that was going on. I don't know. I just never read or heard anything about that, but I mean, they would have been separated for a while after the birth
Okay.
because
Yeah, because she's impure.
yeah,
Right.
but before the birth, I don't know. Either way, um, she's a prophetess. She goes to the Lord on her own, and the Lord speaks to her and tells her about what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Um, Now, today we don't think anything of it when we talk about you know somebody praying and God speaking to them. Um, Contrary to other faiths, we say that if your God doesn't speak to you, is he even really your God? We say, I don't want a God that doesn't speak to me, um, because a God that doesn't speak is deaf, blind, mute, and dead. Um, so, uh, God is a living God, and he himself later on in Amos says, I don't do anything without first telling my prophets, my servants, and before that, chapter, was it 16 or 17? Um, God says, am I going to keep this from Abraham? Because Abraham was his prophet, and he's saying that he's going to tell Abraham what he's about to do,
Mhm.
because he was a prophet. Back where I'm going with that is before Christ, God spoke specifically to his prophets and prophetesses, and that was kind of it. He didn't really. He may have spoken to other people that were faithful to him, but it's not attested to. It's a private thing between them. Anytime it's written in the Bible, it's through the through a prophet or prophetess. So we see this here, and he's telling her exactly what's going to happen, um, in general terms,
Mhm.
and at birth, it starts playing out, and um, we're going to get to this in the last 5, 6 verses, but Esau and Jacob are polar opposites of each other,
Yeah.
in every way, and we'll see. But it's interesting about the um, okay, but yeah, it's all right. We can move on from that, I guess. That's it. Just let's pay attention to this. Like, they're fighting in the womb. Why are they fighting? um, because not every uh, pregnancy with twins or triplets are this hard.
Mhm.
Kids don't always fight in the womb. They don't have raves, and go ham. So it's setting it up for the last few verses of this chapter. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I wonder what she was thinking when God told her that there's two nations in her womb.
yeah.
It's like she probably knows about Abraham, and the promise,
Yeah.
you know, but now she's being told that basically your promise to have two nations
Yeah.
that are going to be at war with each other and still.
Yeah. Well.
uh, I wonder how that played upon her knowing this, because it's sort of like Mary being told that she's going to have the Son of God.
Yeah.
I mean, how a person can handle stuff like that is like, and do you think about it continuously for the rest of your life with them? Uh, you know, it would just kind of blow my mind.
Yeah.
Find something like this. Uh
It like, what do you do with that knowledge? There's
huh.
like, what do you do? My first inclination is, okay, so I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna set them down and I'm gonna teach them everything I can. I'm gonna set them up intellectually, spiritually, as best as I can,
To be nice to each other,
and and
so they don't war.
you know. But then again, how, like, okay, so
We're
one's gonna be stronger than the other.
hmm
All right, so okay, whatever. Like, what do you do? The, which one? Oh, the younger versus the older. Okay, so
But it doesn't say stronger strength. It just says stronger.
yeah, so like, you hope that they won't fight against one another, but it looks like they're gonna.
Yeah.
And so, what do you do as a mother or a father? Like, how do you navigate that? Like, you just throw up your hands and say, Lord, you do you. I'm just gonna, do what any other mother and father are gonna do, and
hmm
you know, you sort it out. You know best.
Yeah, and we're going to see later on who favors who
Yeah.
uh, in all of this. Uh, so there's some really wild things that goes on, uh, and we're fixing to talk the first wild thing right here in just a minute with Esau and Jacob.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, another thing is, to going back to verse 21. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Isaac didn't repeat Abraham's mistake, and Rebekah didn't even offer.
mhm.
So thank God for lessons learned, right? Learn
For that one anyway.
the deeds of the father are assigned to the son.
hmm
Learn from other people's mistakes. You know, a smart person learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. Isaac's a wise man in this case, just not wise enough, as we're going to see.
Yeah. Okay. Next couple of verses there. Verse 27. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents.
Hmm.
And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So there's,
Yeah.
like you said, two polar opposites. And here it would seem that Esau would be the stronger because he is a hunter. Uh, you got to have strength to carry your game back, however many miles you are from home, and uh, Jacob is just a mild manner. Probably never had a callus on his hand. Just being facetious. Here.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the mama's boy, and Esau was daddy's boy, so to speak. Uh, so you would there's definitely a polar opposite going there.
Yeah.
Daddy's boy is going to be the big strong person because he does most of the work. He's the firstborn, so
Mm-hmm.
more is expected of him. Even though they're twins, he is still the firstborn. His rightful place would be after Isaac,
Yeah.
and then you got Jacob that is brought up by his mother for the most part, staying in tents and such. So
Yeah. There's they are polar opposites, and the Hebrew is actually um, giving us some hints. Um, Esau was a skillful hunter. The word translated as skillful hunter, or the phrase is um, really a man who knows to hunt, right? But the word hunt can also mean the prey, so venison or a deer, and so it could also be in midrashic style. So in just a homiletical style, you can say he also was knowingly a prey to his flesh. Because I mean, we're going to read 29 through 34, and we're going to find out that he's impulsive, he's short-sighted, he's aimless, he's a wanderer, and that also comes from the verse that we just read. But he despises his spiritual inheritance uh, in favor of immediate gratification. A lot like modern people, we want everything now. We're the microwave generation. Anything is worth waiting for, and anything that is not worth waiting for is not worth anything. And we see that in Esau's life. But the the term, the phrase "man of the field," ishsade, is like yeah, the basic meaning, the face value is its real meaning, but it has this connotation, the way it's said, that it's kind of like modern hunters in our society today that like to get up early and go out, sit on a stand and just shoot the wind, and just like, it's just them getting in the way of their responsibilities. It's something to do to relax, not really to actually hunt anything. And that's why they take treats with them and stuff, and eat and make noises in the blinds, and because they couldn't care less. And that's the kind of vibe you get from this when you're reading it, that he just aimlessly wanders through the fields. He's not really out there trying to hunt half the time. If he sees anything, he'll shoot it. But if he doesn't, he doesn't care. He has no aim, no sense of direction in life. He just doesn't want to have responsibility. That's why he's not helping people, helping his father, helping his mother back in town. He's not learning the family business. He's just out there doing his own thing.
How do you explain him being the favorite for Isaac then?
Well, because when he saw something, he did get it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to me, a responsible father, seeing what his son is doing, would be like, hey, get your act together.
It could be that he just saw and said, you know what? He goes out and catches this doe from time to time, or this buck from time to time, and he puts some nice venison in front of me, and that's nice. And
that fixed everything.
He knows how he'll survive. He's not gonna die of starvation. He's all right, whatever. And it could be that he's just sick and tired of fighting with him, or it could be that because he favored him, it's that he liked the different, because venison is different from goats and sheep. It tastes different. It has a different texture to it, and he just likes it. He enjoys it. He's old, so I mean he's
probably
60.
Yeah, when they're born.
They're born. So at this point, he might be
80, depending on when they started hunting, learning how to hunt.
Yeah, so he might not be noticing as much. He's just happy with what he's getting. Oh, my son's doing something different.
In fact, you could guess that Esau was probably, of course, I know they're both the same age, but probably between 15 and 25,
Yeah.
which is about the age limit where people at that age, especially men, think that I can do whatever I want and I really don't care what happens. I'll spend all my money I've got right now, because they have no, as you said, direction.
But again, what is Isaac favoring in him? If that's the case, like
Mm-hmm.
why it doesn't make sense. So he's in some places he's not making the mistakes his father made.
Mm-hmm.
He's making his own mistakes now.
Well, he may be a little bit senile. He's blind for
Yeah.
sure because uh, as we get further into the story, he's tricked, so to speak,
Yeah.
by not really by Jacob, but by Rebecca. So
Yeah.
and we're going to see that probably next episode. But uh, you know, uh, there's a lot of conniving and such that goes on where Esau just don't give a flip about anything
Yeah.
until that moment of blessings.
Yeah. And
So,
again, they're polar opposites. But another interesting part, these two verses, right? Another interesting part is that it says Rebecca loved Jacob. Well, before that, it says Jacob was a mild man. The word translated as mild man actually means Tom. It means a complete man, a pious man, a undefiled, righteous, upright, perfect man.
mm-hmm.
So it's not talking about him being a wimp. It's not talking about him being a mama's boy. He's a righteous man.
But it sounds like he's a mama's boy.
Well, yeah, because he's around the house, and that goes into being a complete man. He's at he's at the house. He's working with his.
Learning the trade.
He's learning the trade.
Mm-hmm.
He's helping his parents, both parents. I mean, he's learning how to cook, and do everything. So he's a complete man. So for all those who talk about toxic masculinity and you know the macho man and what's that, what is it they call them these days? I don't even remember, but on YouTube you see all these different channels talking about how to be a man, and all they're really talking about is womanizing and how to look good and how to make money and all that stuff. That's not a complete man. That is a toxic man. Yeah, I'll admit that. And the picture is that Jacob was not that. He's a complete man. Maybe he's handsome. Maybe he's good looking. He knows how to make money because he's learning the family trade, but it's more than that. He knows how to cook. In today's world, you'd say he knows how to clean the house. He knows how to do laundry. He knows how to iron his clothes.
Well-rounded.
Well-rounded. But it's even more because it's interesting because it says he dwelled in tents.
Mm-hmm.
What tents? I mean, what are we talking about here? Maybe he has his own tent by now. Otherwise, he would have grown up in his mother's tent. So, what tents are we talking about? And the sages of Israel have taken this as a hint that he, at some point, later on we'll see, but since it's making a general statement about the kind of man he is, it's placed here. But if we go back to the descendants of Noah, right after the flood, Shem, he's still alive, according to, you know, biblical chronology. There we go. In fact, he's this is roughly around. It's just after a few years after 2071 BC. That's when Abraham died. 2071 BC, give or take a few years. Just general idea. So Shem is still alive for another 35 years. And Eber, the next generation, I think, was, he's going to be around till 2007 BC. So for another 64 years, give or take. And the idea is that, and they would have lived somewhere between there and Haran, in that area somewhere. And the idea is that Jacob actually went and learned from them, learned about God from them. And that's why he dwelled in tents, plural tents, because he actually went somewhere else and learned about God, not only from his father and his grandfather, but from them also. And that kind of makes sense. It also actually brings up another reason as to why Abraham and Isaac after him want their sons to marry a woman from their kin in Haran, is because Haran is in the vicinity of one of the oldest mountains that is associated with the Ark of Noah. And in a previous episode, we talked about several different locations that people have claimed the Ark came to rest at. One is, of course, famous Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey, on the border almost with Armenia. Another place is the Drupanar site, several dozen, if not 100 or 2 miles south of that. But then there's also Mount Judy, that is actually accepted as the spot by most Jewish sages back in the day, by the Syriac Christians even today, and it goes all the way back 2,000 years that they've accepted it, and Arabs also. So the three tribes, the three nations that go all the way back to Abraham, locate the ark at this place, which kind of explains maybe why also Terah moved his family there from Ur after he stopped making idols. Perhaps he came there and found the Lord. Perhaps Abraham learned from Shem and Eber in that region about God. And that's where God called him. And he keeps going back to them because maybe that whole region was still pagan, though they may be, was not as corrupt as the nations further south, because they were closer to the two oldest people alive, one of them being alive when the flood actually happened, first-hand witness. So Just an interesting tidbit.
That because we're talking about the flood, I was just thinking about this, that the Noah building this ark for 100 years, which means that the beginning pieces that he used in the ark at the end of the build, those were 100 years old. Those parts of the trees or whatever that they use, that's just, and it had to be the keel because that's where you start your boat. Whenever you build, you know, you build your keel, and it's like that wood was already 100 years old, and you would think that old that start rotting, but wood is actually, when it's treated right, can last a very, very long time,
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean,
Yeah, and some wood doesn't rot at all, like
Mhm.
acacia wood, and you know, there's a permanence to it. But yeah, um,
shall I finish this out?
yeah, let's knock her out.
Okay, verse 29. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, "Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary." Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, "Sell me your..." It's a sneaky guy. "Sell me your birthright as of this day." And Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die, so what is this birthright to me?" He really didn't care.
Yeah.
At least he thought he was going to die. I highly doubt that. Then Jacob said, "Swear to me of this day, as of this day." So he swore to him and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. And I was going to say went his merry way, but I wanted to say it the right
Yeah.
way. This is a killer, because you see two big things happening here. One is Jacob being sneaky, figuring, hey, if you want to eat that bad, sell me your birthright, because he knew that Jacob, or that Esau was the rightful heir, that he was going to get everything that Isaac had,
Yeah.
or at least 2 times as much.
Yeah.
And then you see Esau here being, as you said earlier, just, I want it now, and I don't care what it costs. As I was talking about, 15 to 25, they don't care. Spend all their money, whatever. So it's like, but yeah, you can have my birthright. What do I really care? Because I'm starving to death. Huh? I'm about to die. You know, and you hear that in people. You know, I'm dying of thirst. I could eat a horse. I blah blah blah. You know, but this is pretty wild. What's going on here, and what's gonna happen later on in the next chapter or two. And
Yeah, but this is what started in their mother's womb, and of course the commentaries have a lot to say about this. The commentators, the sages, really dig into it and tear it apart, because on one hand, like you said, it looks like Jacob is a complete opportunist, like very unfavorable. But then when you look at his brother, and then you put it in context of what the Lord told their mother, and just the promises God gave, beginning with Abraham, their grandfather, it all kind of falls in place to look like this. While they were in their mother's womb, they could tell how different they were. And that Esau was a no good, and that's why they were fighting. So spiritually, in their spirit, right? I'm not talking about a conscious knowledge here, but in their spirit man, Jacob goes, I can't let him be born first. I gotta get out. I gotta grab his heel, yank him back in, so I can get out, so I can be the carrier of the promises. Because this thing over here
He's gonna sell everything away.
He
Give it all.
not only does he not deserve it, but you can't trust him with it, like you said. So I gotta fight for the right. I don't care about the wealth. Like you said, I'll get something anyways. Doesn't matter. And as they're growing up, he's learning the family business. He's secure. He knows how to make money. He knows how to put food on the table. He's okay. That's not his concern. His concern is the other part of the birthright. The carrying of the covenant promises and leading the family. And
Which is something that he may have learned from his grandfather all the way back to Shem.
Yeah.
The understanding of it.
and maybe his mother later on further fueled the flames by telling him that, hey, look, this is God's promise. You're going to get it. So maybe he took it upon himself to make it happen this way. Either way, whether we agree or disagree with his methods, his heart is that I got to make sure that this vagabond here, this wanderer, this man-child doesn't destroy everything and God's promises fall away, which is a wild thing to think about. You know, God is more than capable of making his promises come to pass, but hey, he's young. He hasn't experienced God the way Isaac has. He hasn't experienced God the way Abraham has. He's at the very beginning of his journey with God. And as we've said plenty of time before, faith is a journey of getting to know God day by day, step by step, as he guides us, holding our hand through life, negotiating life's twists and turns as our stomach makes weird noises. Sorry for that, if y'all heard that. So,
You can see a big difference in maturity here also.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, I wonder if, well, apparently he has the nickname Red, you know,
Yeah.
because Edom, that is what Edom stands for, is red.
Yeah.
And so he's, that's, it's, I'm going to jump way ahead here. And, you know, we're told that God hated Esau but loved Jacob. And people always think that, well, you know, why did God hate? You know, that's pretty strong. And it's not that he hated Esau the person, he hated the fact of what he did with his birthright, that he was supposed to be mature enough to carry on.
Yeah. It's more than that too. It's the phrase to hate someone but love someone else. You know, Jesus also uses that in his preaching. If anyone who
Hates
doesn't
his brother.
hate his
Oh.
mother and father,
Yeah.
doesn't love God. It doesn't mean they're not using the word hate the way we use it.
Right.
They're using it in the sense that your love for this one so outshines your love for the other one, like that we can compare it to love and hate. Like, you still love that person, but you love this one so much more that it's as if you hate this guy. And yeah,
because like you said about if you love your parents more than you love me, you know, people take that as in, well, you have to hate your parents. But what it is if you have to choose between the two,
yeah,
you need to choose Jesus. But it doesn't mean hate your parents.
no,
But you always place Jesus above everything else, no matter what it is.
yeah.
but it doesn't mean you hate everybody below him. It's just that your love, as you stated, needs to be that much more than everybody else.
Yeah, and just for those who are tuning in, and this is the first time they've heard this concept, proof that Jesus meant this is when he argues with some Pharisees about um, pledges or promises people make to God in order to neglect their parents. He says, "You say, if anyone says to their parents that whatever I am supposed to give to you is promised to God," um, and he's arguing about that, saying, "No, there's the first well, not the first commandment, but the commandment is to honor your parents, not to neglect them by promising what you're going to use to support them in their old age to God, to the temple." He's like, you're negating God's commandment for your own twisted ideas. So from that, we know that he cares about the parents, and he wants us to love our parents, and that we're not supposed to hate our parents. It's just that our love for God, our love for Christ, should so outshine, so overpower our love for anybody else. It's that it should our love for them should pale in comparison to our love for God, so much that it looks like, oh, we hate them in comparison. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's and I can understand Esau's um, and this is kind of jokingly, but I understand his excitement for food here because his brother's cooking red lentils, and I love red lentils. I think I am gonna, like we talked about, put our family recipe up on our Facebook page if y'all wanna check it out. But we, my mom used to make a real delicious red lentil soup, and she'd dunk homemade bread in it and then let it dry so that it would be flavored with the red lentil soup and fresh. You warm that up, put some butter on it. Oh, now when I make the bread, I actually, instead of the water, I use the liquid from the soup to flavor it, so I don't have to dunk it and wait for it to dry. But you know what?
I didn't know that there was different colored lentils. Because I'm not.
Oh yeah,
I've had lentils before, but I didn't know there was red ones.
there's red and there's green.
I had the green, and they were fine. Is there a difference?
It tastes different.
Here we are going to culinary stuff now.
Yeah, and my dad makes some mean green lentil soup. So I mean, I know how the two are. They're delicious. They're both delicious. I like the red better. I like to put a little bit of mayo in my green lentil soup after it's cooked, to give it some creaminess. But yeah, yeah.
Because I'd probably put a ham hocks in it and stuff, and that'd ruin it for you. Because that sounds pretty good to me, lentils and ham.
Oh man, yeah.
So I digress. Back to this, to Esau and Jacob. It's this is so detailed out of what happens with these two guys, because we're going to get into some more detail, and just the fact of Esau's maturity in this whole thing. I mean, And like you said, he's a microwave type guy. He wants it when he wants it. He doesn't want to wait. It doesn't matter what it costs him.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, we know it's going to cost him his birthright because he's just sold it. And I wonder if he was thinking, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you, whatever, because this really doesn't count.
Yeah.
This isn't. You're not going to remember, when it comes time for our Father to bless us. I'm going to be first to be blessed anyway. So what do I care? May have been the mentality of him also.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, because that's the kind of man he is. That's the kind of man that he's put up to be. Let's think about it. The Bible just told us that he's a skillful hunter. And then he shows up starving.
Starving to death.
He doesn't have the patience to dress the animal and cook it. Like, I love lentils, don't get me wrong, but I love a good steak above lentils. If I'm coming in from the field, if I was a skillful hunter, it's logical that I would be coming home with something slung over my shoulder. I'm not gonna.
I wouldn't be satisfied with just some lentils.
Yeah.
If I'm starving to death.
Furthermore, if I'm a hunter, if I'm hunting with a bow and arrow, I shot the deer or whatever it was. It's going to run away for a little bit, and I'm going to have to chase it. I'm going to be tired. Lentils are not going to fill me up. They're not going to replenish that energy that I just wasted, or not wasted, but invested into this hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I need that protein. I need that animal. Esav, what are you doing? What either he didn't catch anything, so where's his skill? Or he caught something and he's just too lazy to process it. Which also means that this animal over there is kind of it's turning, if I'm going to sit down and eat and whatever, if I'm that kind of a guy, it's also turning. That meat is not going to be fresh.
Mm-hmm.
You should already be smoking it. What's going on here?
Should be on the barbecue.
On the barbie. Prawns on the barbie. Oh, God. I'm sorry to our Australian listeners. I apologize to our Kiwis.
They're Kiwis.
I'm sorry.
It's all in fun. No insulting intended.
But, yeah, so that's what he wrote for today.
Hey, that puts us halfway through Genesis.
Does. I can't believe.
Oh, and your dog's happy about it too.
Yay! I guess she's waiting to go out potty, hopefully. Or she saw our neighbors and she's not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. But that was it. I think, yeah, we're definitely going to have to cut this baby into two...
two portions, huh?
Two portions. But thank you for joining us. Until next time, God bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and give you peace.